Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you being here. And welcome to the Google Universe web series. I am G. William James. And today, as we begin the fifth installment of the series, we're going to talk about something really, really powerful. One of my absolute favorite apps of the Google Universe, one that I've actually become to like more and more as it has become more robust, and it is Google Drive. And there is so much to learn about in Google Drive that I literally had to break it up into two separate sessions so that I would be able to take the time and focus on certain aspects of it in one session, and then we'll get into the other tools as we get into the next week. So without further ado, I just want to go ahead and get started because we have a lot to talk about. Don't forget, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to unmute yourself or just write your question in the chat, and we're going to move from there. So as always, want to give you the information on how to keep in contact with me. You can always reach me at my website at gwilliamjames.com or email me directly, Sashi specifically, at william@gwilliamjames.com, or of course, follow me on my social media, my Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, or Instagram. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I want everybody to just send me an email to this address, william@gwilliamjames.com. And in the subject line, I only want you to write this, Google Drive 1, and make sure that you spell the word one out. So you'll be able to get this week's handout. Google Drive 1 is the topic. Is the subject for the email, and what you will get as usual would be a response in Gmail that will give you today's handout. It will give you a link to the evaluation form, which I really hope you fill out for me. And I no, you don't have to get a reservation to next week because you already have one. So just go ahead and get the handout, and I think you'll like what's inside. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Google Drive and why it is so valuable to your mobile global office and how it differentiates from what we've been accustomed to in our Mac computers and with using Office 365 or Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. Well, Drive serves two major purposes in its basic format. Number one, it is a sync and storage service. So it gives us the capability of storing files on the cloud in our Google account. And if you have a free account, you've already been given a very generous 15 gigabytes. If you have an enterprise account, 30. And if you have actually had the opportunity to purchase more for as little as $1.99 a month, you can get 100 gigabytes of space. So you can really take full advantage of storing your documents, PDFs, what have you, on the cloud. So that's the basic feature, and it's synchronized between our mobile and our desktop computers. So it really gives us the added advantage of being able to open, edit our documents, our spreadsheets, our presentations, uh, opening and storing our PDFs, things of that nature, being able to send and receive files directly from your mobile phone. So you don't have to be associated with your laptop, your desktop, or your tablet at the time. If you have the app on your phone, then you have all the documents available to you. So it's a really convenient factor from that perspective. The synchronization is what gives us the protection. So it doesn't matter if you're on one computer or 10 computers. If you have the software on that computer and it's logged into your Google account, it will synchronize and back up your data and give you mirror images of all the documents and everything that you stored on your account all the time. And so that's going to be a major benefit and security convenience for us as well. One of the things that I like about it is one of the tenets of Google, and we've talked about this over the last few weeks, how one of the foundations of the Google mobile office is the ability to share this content and share it with your colleagues, share it with collaborators, but also share it with your public directly to your clients through the internet or publicly through the internet, searchable in Google and what have you. So we're going to take advantage of that feature today as well. And so it's really going to give us the full complement of capability of how we develop content documents moving forward and how we get to share them so easily using the Google Drive service compared to what we may have been using in the past. So with that being said, we're going to move forward. Now, Marianne just asked me a very quick and important question. She says, how does Google provide privacy? Well, the way Google creates a private network for you in terms of how you're storing your data is that each and every Google account has its own certain level of protections and privacy from anybody stealing your information through your passwords and through how they protect your information on their many, many servers around the world. The way it was explained to me, and this was back in the day, I don't know if they still do it this way, but if you've got a full Google Office, everything that you have is not stored on the same server all the time. So for example, your Gmail, when you want to log into your Gmail on your phone or your laptop and see your mail, that may be coming from a server in Denver, Colorado, whereas your Google Drive or maybe your Google Photos may be stored in a different server in Miami, Florida. But they have these servers all over the world, and I understand they even have them in places underwater, if you can imagine that. So they have been able to provide us with a certain level of privacy, and we are responsible for our security. So if that's answering your question, that's one of the ways that they provide us with privacy and security. Now, what you choose to share is completely on you, Mary. So that's why that works. All right. Now, we're going to talk about most of this on the next week, where you're able to, as part of your mobile office solution, creating forms, which you're going to love, creating your graphics, your flyers, and all other graphic materials, like maybe you've been using another program like Microsoft Publisher or some of the other many programs that are out there. It's built right into the Google Drive program for free. Creating Google Maps, and we're going to talk about how to use the My Map program, which is one of my favorites, and how it will become one of your favorites too. That's all going to be next week. Creating the single page websites. This is all built into Google Drive. There's so much, and it's so convenient, so powerful, but yet it's very easy to use. So that's why we wanted to break it up so that we can take some time in getting into it. All right. Now, these are the tools of Google Drive. Documents, think of Microsoft Word. Sheets, think of Excel. Slides, think of PowerPoint. Then you've also have, as I just mentioned, something unique in Google Forms, and it's an internet-based way of collecting data. You're going to find so many ways of using that in your business. Drawings to create your graphic content, your flyers, all of those kinds of graphic materials that are designed to share on the internet. My Maps, which I just talked about, we'll talk about those in detail on part 2, as well as Google Sites, and of course, the backup and sync process. So this is the entire Google Drive experience, and we're going to go through each and every one of these in detail. So with that being said, let's just go ahead and get into Google Drive. Now, if you were to go into your Google Drive, and you see I have it across in my desktop shortcuts, I just click on Drive and it brings me to this page. This is similar to a home page in Google Drive. And if you look over on the left side, this is where we're going to begin. I'll skip over New for just a second and look at the menu to the left. Now, what you can do is you can organize your files and your content in your Google Drive by what you see over here on the left side. For example, what you can label as a priority document, it'll always be in that little menu over there. You can always just designate any particular file that you have and make it a priority. Here's your drive. So you understand that you can create folders and subfolders just like you do on your C drive on your computer and organize your files in that fashion. And you can see how I have that. So I'm going to be showing you, like in 2020, you see I have mail lists and all of the other files and programs right here built into this. These are files that will be shared with me, and I will talk about that a little bit. Then we can actually look at what was recently opened or edited, things that you want to put a star on, just like we do in Google Gmail. You can actually highlight certain files by putting a star on them. And then of course, the trash. Now I will tell you, I got notifications, and maybe you have too lately, that Google has updated their policy as it relates to trash. When you put a file in Google Drive into its trash, it will follow the same rules as Gmail. It will stay there 30 days and then it will be deleted forever. So that's something that they did not use before, but now they have. They're going to delete and empty the trash can on a regular basis. Now, let me come up here and click on the star for settings just for a second, so that we're going to talk about how we're going to get our files over from our computer into our Google Drive, if you will. We're going to always talk about how we're going to set up our Google Drive experience. Starting with the gear, we're going to click on the gear and we're going to click on settings. So we'll click on settings, and over here to the left, it says general. Now, if you're running out of space, and see this account that I'm using, it's pretty full, you see? And if I wanted to buy more storage for this particular account, I could. Now, I'm not going to do that because I spend $2.99 on a different account and I have 200 gigabytes of space. So I can always just move things over if I want to. So I don't have to buy more space because I've already done so. When it says convert upload, you should check that box, because it's what it's going to do. It's going to take your documents that are Word, Excel, and PowerPoint and convert them, that anyone that you upload, into an editable format for Google Drive. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to completely change the one that's on your computer. It does not. It takes a mirror image of that document and convert it to Google Docs editing format. We'll talk about that a little bit more in just a second. If you want to, you can actually create an offline experience as well. Remember, this is a web-based account. And if you're on an airplane where you don't have Wi-Fi and you want to access a document in your Google Drive, you can actually, before you get on that plane, make certain folders offline compatible, so that you can open up your computer while you're in flight and you'll have access to those documents. Otherwise, you'll have to be online on the Wi-Fi on the plane or whatever you have that might be able to connect. So I just wanted to give you a really quick way of you can look at how you're going to set it up. Now, the first thing you really want to do, if you haven't done so, is put the app on your computer. So we can go back to settings right here, and it says get drive for desktop. You click on that and it's going to take you to where you get the link to download the application. Now, you would do this on your laptop, you would do this on your desktop computer. If you have multiple computers that you want to associate this account with, do this on all of those computers. So you would simply come here and select, well, I already have it here. So what it's going to do is it's going to give you the ability to download and install the application. See, I already have it, so it's not giving me that capability, but you should have the access to be able to just go ahead and download the application. Get Drive for desktop. Now, make sure that you get Drive for You get Drive, not Drive for business, but Drive for your personal use. All right, that's what you're going to use. All right, your Drive for your personal use, and just download it. And then you'll sign into your computer with your Google account. And what it will do at that point is it will give you all of the um, files that are on the cloud. It will sync to your computer. Now, if you have any files that are on your computer that are in your Google Drive file, it will sync to the cloud. So when you go to your computer after you've done so, and this is my C drive, and you look over here to the left, here is my Google Drive. And when I click on Google Drive, you see this is my Google Drive folders. Now, what you saw on my other account, this is my presentation account. This is my personal Google Drive account. And you see it's got all these different folders for different years. And then I've got some other folders in there, subfolders. Each one of these folders have subfolders in them. And so this is what syncs to my Google account on the cloud and syncs to where I can access it online in Google Drive. So that's what you would see over here, you see? So let's click on this one that says new. Now, I'll skip over the first two for a moment. And if you look here, like I said before, if you want to create a Google Doc, you can click on here and it would give you the space to make a Google document. Google Slides, Excel, like an Excel spreadsheet, a presentation, and here's forms. And if we click on more, we'll find the rest that we're going to talk about next week: drawings, My Maps, Google Sites. But we're going to focus today on Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Google Slides. Now, if we come up here to the top, this is where we get to organize your files. So you can create your own folders and subfolders, and this is how these are going to organize on your cloud. When you have it on your desktop, when you have it on your phone, when you have it on your tablet, wherever you stored those files at the time, whatever folders and subfolders you created, that's where you'll find it on all your devices. So you've done that on your C drive before. You understand the hierarchy of that. Now, from here, I can bring files from my C drive into my Google Drive experience while I'm sitting here right on my laptop computer. I can do an individual file or an entire folder. So I'm going to click on File Upload, and you're going to see it's going to come over and going to go to my C drive. I'm going to open up my Dropbox because that's where I store a lot of my files. And I'm going to all the way down here to the bottom here. And I'm looking for, I'm sorry, I need to go into that folder and come down into my Word documents. These are all Microsoft Office 365 Word documents. And I'm going to select this one called the Gettysburg Address Lincoln. And I'm going to open it. And when I open it, see down in the lower right corner, it says it's starting to upload. Now, what it's doing, it took the Gettysburg Address, which is a Word document. You see that big W right there? And brought it into my Google Drive. But it also converted it to an editable version of the document. This way I can open it. Now, I've got both versions in my Google Drive now. You see? Now, if I look over here and I can see it, I can come over and I can say Gettysburg Address and do a search for it. You see, it says Gettysburg Address Lincoln DocX, which is the Microsoft Word version. See the W to the left? But see, here's the blue box to the line. That lets me know that this is the Google Docs version of it. Now, if I open up the Word version of it, I can open it, read it, print it, email it. I can do all of those things. What I cannot do is I cannot share it online and I cannot edit it. But if I want to do any of those things, I'm going to open up the Google Docs version, which I have right here. Now, I want someone to do me a favor. If you got a Gmail account, I want you to go into the chat, please, and I want you to send me your Gmail address. Tim asked while we're doing that, Tim asked, why would you use both Google Docs and Dropbox? Well, I'll tell you this, Tim, I was a Dropbox user for a long time before I even started using the um, Google Drive. And Google Drive, for a long time, in my opinion, had not really become robust enough. So I was still using the Microsoft Office and I was still teaching the Google Drive, but I would even then say I didn't think that it was robust enough that it would really give me everything I needed. Because let's say, for example, you just saw me convert this document from a Word document to a Google Docs version. Well, in many cases, you would see that it just did not synchronize the way that I want to. And there would be differences that would be difficult to edit and all of that, especially when it came to presentations. All of that's gone. All of that's gone. And so I am exclusively a Google Drive user now. I don't use Microsoft Office 365, and I've saved myself $100 a year by doing so. All right, so Tim sent me his Gmail address. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to use that in just a moment. Now, you can see here I've got this document called the Gettysburg Address. Now, look across the top here. Look across the menus. And what you'll discover is that there's really no huge learning curve if you're moving from another document editing software like Microsoft Word. A lot of the features are the same, you see, in terms of line spacing and justification. All of those features are here, right? Highlighting and all of that, the size, the fonts, everything's here. There are some distinct differences, however. First of all, the one thing that you do not see here is a save button. The reason why is because there is not one. Everything that you do is automatically saved. Now I'm going to say take out the word address here. I'm just going to delete it. Right here, you see it says saving the moment I made any changes. Now, before you panic and say, oh my God, I really screwed this document up. Well, there's an undo button right here. And you can undo something and it's saving it and putting it back the same way. So you can have it that way, but you can also have, if you come to the file menu and I'll come down and I'll look at version history, you can see that it actually has a version history where you can come in and you can see the entire list of all the changes that were made in this document, by whom and when. Why is it important to have that? Because one of the things that you can do with this document is share it with other people. And that's why I asked for a Gmail address, because I'm going to click over here to share. And I'm going to look at a couple of different ways that you can share this document. Remember, once it's in the Google Drive format, I can edit it, I can print it, I can email it, but I can also share it. I can share it in public online. I can share it in a blog. I can share it in social media, or I can share it with individual people and we can collaborate. So I'll talk about that in a second. Down here, it says get link. I can simply select copy this link. And now I can go to Facebook and create a new post, paste this link in, and everybody who looked at it finds my post, they can read the Gettysburg Address. You see? Now, I can even change this link so that people can actually edit the Gettysburg Address. I can give them that capability, but right now, by default, it's in view only mode. Now, I also have the ability that I can add people, and I'm just going to, I'm going to select Tim, and I'm going to email him this document. I'm going to give him editing rights. You see, I can give him view only, or he can make comments, or I'll give him editing rights. And I'll make him an editor. I can write him a note, and I'll just send it. All right. Tim's going to get an email that invites him to come and join me in this document. So while we're waiting on Tim to come in, And we can have more than one person. But while we're waiting on Tim to come in, I'll show you some other features. There he is already. He's coming in. All right. There's some other things that you can do with this document. For example, it says you can download. Now, remember, I converted this to a I converted a Microsoft document into a Google document. I can download it after I've made any changes and put it back into Microsoft Word if I want. Or I can make it an open doc format, make it a rich text format, save it as a PDF, save it as a web page. I've got a number of different options that I can do with this document, you see? And I can see that Tim has already gotten busy. He's taken my title out, but it's no problem because I've given him editing rights, and he can come in and he can write whatever he wants, whether I'm in the document or not, because I've given him the rights to edit this document. And you can see there's his cursor, and it's in purple, and I can come in and I can make some changes myself. And I can say, I'll just change this. And you can see here when I highlight that, it'll show that I'm making changes to this document. You see? And so I can go back and look at the version history, and we can see the changes that have been made. You can see that Tim's in here and I'm in here, and I can name it a separate version of it, make a copy of it, but it's showing me what changes were made and the colors. You see, the Tim's version is in purple, and any changes I made were in this this teal green. So if I had a third person in here, they would have another color like pink. Another person would have a yellow cursor. You see, so all of us could have access to make this document what we want it to be. And we could be like we are in two different places and working on the same documents at the same time. Google gives us this capability. Now, something else we can do, and you can go ahead and continue to work on that, Tim. I'm going to go back into the Drive folder, and I'm going to click on my Drive and look at what I have in 2020. And so I have these documents in here. Now, if I wanted to share anything in here, for example, I can take this document, I'm going to right click on it and get this menu. And now I can share this file without opening it, or entire folders, you see? So even I can share the entire 2020 folder. And all I have to do is share it and then put Tim's name in here again. Now he has access to not just the folder, but all of the files in it. Now you can go in and give somebody access to a folder and limit their access to the files within. You can say, well, you can edit this first one, but you can only view the second one, or you can't see the second one at all. And you can completely give people that capability. This is what I really like about this tool, because if you're working with a small team and you've got documents that you share, for example, you might have a set of forms that you work with. Templates, if you will. And when you're ready to execute a transaction, you can go into the forms folder, select the one that you want, make a copy of it and put it in your own folder. And now you have a version of the blank to work with, and you've left the original in the folder. Let's get back and then we'll look again. All right, so as I was saying earlier, when you're ready to share a document, if I want to share it with someone, not only would I have access to be able to share that document with them, I can actually give them ownership of the document. And from there, they'd have to invite me to share in the document. Oh, so it's not getting, I'm having some type of issue with the internet for some reason. All right, so let's go back to our document and let's see what's going on. It looks like I'm still okay as it relates to connectivity. All right. All right.
William, a small box popped up. Here it is again. Sorry, sharing is unavailable.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what that issue is and why it's not giving me the capability, but that's quite all right. I'm going to go back into the documents and we'll just move on from there. I was trying to share or show
I
you
think
how you can share the document and give other people the ownership of the document, things of that nature. All right. Now you can do this with any three of those with Word. Well, actually anything in Google Drive that you can use. You can always collaborate like Tim and I were doing on this document. You see, you can always do that. And have the capability with anything that we're working on. So even if you're working on a slideshow, or if you're working on a form, you can work with it with other people. Now, one of the great ways that this can be used with you, let's say that you are supposed to meet with a client and you're ready to close on the next day, and for some reason you can't make it to a live meeting with them. Especially now when we're trying to stay a little socially distant from somebody, you can simply send them this document, just like I sent it to Tim, but instead make it for them view only. And they can open up the document even if they don't use Google at all, because if you send it by email, it comes with a reader. So they would be able to open and view the document the same way that you see it, but they wouldn't be able to do any edits on it. And you can just go down the document, the contract, line by line. And if there was any changes that needed to be made, you could go in and make those changes, and they would see you make those changes in real time. So it is a really good tool to, continue to work with people in real time, in face-to-face almost, if you will, while being separate from people anywhere in the world. As long as they can connect to the internet and you can too, then you have that capability. There's so many tools in here. And again, you don't have to relearn anything, because a lot of these tools are the same as what you've experienced or been used to in Microsoft world. The only differences are, again, there is no save. Here are places that you can add your stars, for example, just like we did in Gmail. If you want to move a file into a particular folder, you can just simply click on that. Here's a place that you can make it a priority, you see, or make it offline here, or you can put it into a folder, you see. So it has all of the capabilities. Now, what I'm going to do from here, I'm going to go back to the drive and I'm going to click on new again. And I'm going to click on Sheets. Now, when we go into spreadsheets, you see, it's just a typical spreadsheet. All the formulas that you have been accustomed to in Excel, for example, they still work here. Now, the reason why I wanted to come over here was not to take you into a spreadsheet, but to take you over into the Sheets home. So I'm going to click on the little green icon, and you can find this in Docs, Sheets, and Presentations, Slides rather, and you will find all your documents that you've ever created in Sheets right here, connected here. You'll also have what they call a template gallery. Look up here to the upper right. And if we click on the template gallery, it's going to show us a number of pre-canned spreadsheets. In Docs, it would show you pre-canned documents, resumes, and all different kinds of forms that you might create in a Word document. But over here, all different kinds of spreadsheets that you might want to create. So if there's something that you want to create in a spreadsheet format, come over here to Sheets Home, look in the template gallery, and see if there's something that's already been created for you. You see? And you can do the same thing in Slides. The template gallery is very, very great. And you can create your own. So if I created my own template, I could take this sheet that I had created, and I could make it into a template and it would store here. These are the other ones that are already built into the system. All right. Any questions about this so far? Let's see, here's a question. Can you have the links password protected? The answer is uh, not really. Well, you can have them protected, but you don't have to have them password protected, because if you're sharing the links with other people, you can just give them um, viewing rights only. If you don't want to share them, then they don't have to be password protected, because they're going to be they're not going to be available to anybody. So the only way that I can see that they would need to be password protected is if you were putting them somewhere where people can find them. But I would assume that you would want them to open it and see it. So as far as I know, Tim, I don't know if there's a password protection for any of the links that are created. I've not seen one, and I've been pretty I've been using this for quite some time. All right, any more questions? All right, let's move on. All right, so like I said, the template gallery is going to be very handy for you, as well as looking at all of the documents that you want. So if you want to just create a new one right here, it'll create a new spread. Okay, so as I said before, if you're creating any of these documents, um, you have all the same capabilities with some additional functionality. For example, I'm going to take you to a spreadsheet that I created specifically for my website. So any of you all who are working on your own website, or if you have a website that you're creating dates for example, I have this one called Google Webinar Wednesdays. And this is on my website, you see. And I have this actual spreadsheet connected to my website as we speak. So if I made a little change here, I'm going to say I'm going to take this out and put in the word encore, and I'm going to leave it exactly the way it is. Remember, there's no save. Website, and if we go to look at the webinar series, and I scroll down a bit, this is the website. I mean, the slide deck, the slide page that I have on that page. You see how it already has updated that? If I go back and change it, it'll take that off just as quickly. And when I go back to my website and refresh it, you should see that that will be gone. So when you're working with your website, even when you're working on your website, if there's certain aspects of your technology that you want, see, it's already gone. It'll automatically update. Everything is connected online in this respect. All right. Any questions I can answer at the moment? And again, I apologize, guys, for the interruptions. It's just working really, really weird. All right. What I want to do is I want to show you the synchronization process. Now, in order for me to do that, I actually have to come over to my other account. This is my personal Google Drive, the one that I actually use for my own work. And when you look at my drive over here on the left side, when I expand my drive, and remember when we were on my computer in Google Drive, you saw it look like this: one personal, 2012, 2013, 2014, on and on and on. These are all the programs that I work with in real life. But if we come over here to the drive, my drive, and when I expand it, see, it's the exact same folder hierarchy, the exact same ones in the exact same order. So this is the one that I have synchronizing with my Google account, syncing to my computers. Now, the one that I just showed you, the one that I had before, I could sync that to a different computer. I would not take the chance of trying to synchronize two accounts to the same PC. I've tried it in the past. I wasn't very successful at it. I've heard it can be done, but I wasn't successful. So I don't think that I would recommend it. So, but if you want to have, if you got more than one Google account and you want to store your documents on the cloud, you have more than enough room to do so. So I can go right back to the account that I was before, and I'm right back, and here are the documents on that account. You see, so this is what I want you to start doing. If you are a Word, Excel, PowerPoint user, and you want to start exploring using the Google Drive, then all you have to do is bring your documents over. Remember, I showed you how to do that. Just click on New, and then File Upload. Remember, it does not change the original file that's on your computer. Whatever format it was in, it's going to stay in that format. You're just going to take a copy of it and bring it over into your Google Drive. You see, so that's all you have to do. All right, now remember, next week, this is what we're going to do. We're going to focus on Google Sites, Google Maps, Google Drawings, and Google Forms. And you're really going to love what these have to do. And we're going to do it in Google Meet so that we will limit our problem that we're having right now. Okay. All right. So Tim says, so we didn't look at slides. That's what we're about to do. Let's go take a look at slides. Let me come out of this. And well, actually this is a Google slide right here. This is what we're doing. I presented this in Google Slides. So I'm going to come back over to my drive, and we click on Google Slides, and we can create it from a blank presentation or from a template like we had before. So I'm going to select template this time. I'm going to look at some of the different types of templates that are there for us to choose to make presentations. Think PowerPoint. And so if we wanted to come in and just say, look, we've got a new presentation. And again, just like the other documents, the menus are very, very similar to what you've been using in the Microsoft series. So if you wanted to come in and take a document and you want to rewrite the content, I should take it off cap lock. If you want to do anything like this, if you want to, it's telling me my connection's unstable again. Hope I'm not losing you again. You want to make some changes, you want to color it. Here's a color palette, make it bold, change the size, change the fonts. It's all here, right? You want to add any images, you simply insert an image. You can get it from the computer, get it from the web, from your Google Drive, from your Google Photos, by internet, or if you even have a camera that you want, like your webcam right there, it'll select from webcams. All of these features are here. And I think you're really going to like using this application. The biggest difference I'm going to say would be, like I said, in the being able to download, looking at the version histories, and the fact that you can easily just make whatever changes you want to this application just simply by going through the menus. You'll see that there's really no big learning curve to using it. All right. And when you're ready to present, I'll say present from the beginning, and it puts the document up on the screen, and you present it the same way you do in PowerPoint. That's why it was so easy for me to convert over from the Microsoft experience into Google Drive. This was a little bit difficult just a couple years ago, but Google has done a very, very good job of taking the ability of bringing it over into a editable version of the presentation without having to completely reformat it. And that was a major issue that we had with this before. The formatting was a problem. All right. Questions, anybody? Okay. All right. So let's just do a little quick preview of what we're going to talk about next week in the Google Drive Part 2. So far, what we talked about today was docs, sheets, and slides, but I wanted to emphasize the ability to share the documents for editing or viewing only, creating the environment so that you can pass documents on to other people very easily, and just being able to bring them over from your hard drive into the Google Drive experience, even if they are already in another format like Word, Excel, or PowerPoint. But next week, we're going to take a look at Google Forms. I don't want to create a folder. I want to go to, it keeps doing that. I think it's going to, here we go. We're going to look at Google Forms and some of the wonderful things that we're able to do with forms, creating original intake forms. When you first meet a client, you need something that's going to capture data from them. If you want to have one for after the transaction, after the closing, a customer service format, you can be able to do that. And it's all online, no paper to be shared by anybody. And everything's done online, real time. We're also going to look at Google Drawings, how you can create your listing flyers or any other type of graphic content, and you can print them if you want to, but they're really not designed for printing. They're designed for sharing. So you can put them in social media. You can create your flyers and put them in Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and what have you. You can take the drawings and make them online, make them searchable in Google. Remember a couple of weeks ago when we talked about Google SEO, adding the content and making it so that you'll be able to share it with the public around the world. With Google Sites, we're talking about creating single page websites. So if you have a property that you really want to showcase, you can create a single page website unique for that site, for that location, and put in all the details, add images, add video, add all kinds of content, and then make it available to any place you want to share it. So we're going to talk about that too. All right, we got a question in the chat. Marianne said she had to go. So thank you, Marianne. We'll see you. And I'm going to be sending out the video. Looks like I'm going to have to make some edits to it. I'm going to try to take those dead points out. And then once I edit those out, I'll be sending out this video. So that's what we're going to focus on next week in terms of the presentation. And then let me go back over to our other slide. Yeah, here we are. And as I said, next week is going to be part 2. But after that, 2 weeks from now, we're going to do somewhat of a repeat of Google My Business Ads and SEO. The reason why I want to repeat this is because now that you've had an opportunity to see what the importance of Gmail, the importance of calendaring, the importance of Google Drive as part of your mobile office experience, how to take the content that we've developed and learn how to use and make it really work for the SEO. Before we even got into this, it was a little abstract, but now you'll be able to see more intently how this application is really going to work for you. And we can take it a couple of steps higher because there's some features and functions that we didn't talk about in the limited time that we had the first time, and really get into it, and you'll be able to see it's almost like a whole new presentation. But we're going to do that one on October 20th. So that's week after next. All right. So let's get into if there's any more Q&A, more questions that we have to answer. In the meantime, let me put up the original slide if you didn't get this one so that you can get the handout. Want to make sure that you get this so you have easy access to the handouts and the other content. Are there any questions in the chat area, or if you want to unmute yourself, you can ask your question by voice. So I'm going to shut up for a moment. Okie doke. All right, you guys. So don't forget that you can email me at my website, or you can email me directly at william@gwilliamjames.com. Connect with me on the social media, Twitter feed, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, or of course, my Instagram. And we're going to move on from here. And if anybody wants to stay in the room and ask questions, make comments or anything, if you have some suggestions, please do so. As I said earlier, I'm going to go into editing of this video, and I'm going to edit out all of the dead space, if you will, from when I lost connection, and then I'm going to send out the video. So it may be a slight delay in getting it out to you, but it will be available to you sometime very soon. I don't have any problem being the last person in the room, but I want to thank everybody who came, and I hope you got something really out of this. Practice this. Go in there, create some documents, bring some of your old Word, Excel, and PowerPoint documents in and edit them and kind of mess around with them. Share them with your other account. If you have somebody that you're connected to that has a Gmail, share documents with them. Have some fun with the collaboration feature and just explore. No one will see what you're doing. Nobody will ever see your documents unless you publicly share them. And so I would encourage you to do that too. You have a flyer or some photographs that you wanted to create into a nice little content with a flyer, and then put them in Facebook. It's perfectly fine. You can do that very, very easily right there from the menus. So I'm really looking forward to sharing with you next week on how to use those forms and how to use those flyers, and using My Maps. You're going to love what Google My Maps can do for you. And then of course, using Google Sites. So that's what we're going to do next week. So questions, anybody? Let's make sure that there are no questions left out there before I sign off. And I want to say thank you, everybody. And I really appreciate everything that we are doing today. You're looking at one of the tools that's built into here, the timer and all of that. We'll talk about those things next week. So thanks, everybody. And I appreciate you. Thanks, Tim. We'll see you next week. And until then, I'm going to sign off. Say thanks again, everybody. We'll see you next week. Look forward to seeing you out on the video. Take care, everybody. G. William James signing off.